Today is day 153 of Blender. It is also Sunday, July 10th, 2022. And I'm going to do another text animation. I'm going to change the color of each letter, animate it and then render it. So I'll start with a general file. I'll scroll up all the way to geometry nodes. I'm going to kind of hide the spreadsheet. And then I'm going to click on New Geometry Node System in the modifier properties. I'm going to call this text. So that's the geometry system, and I'm calling it text. I'm going to disconnect the input from the output. I'm going to Shift A so I could get the string to curve node. Another way of saying this is text to curves, because string is another way for text. I'm going to put this and connect it to the output, and nothing's going to happen because I don't have any string, so I think I'm just going to do like as if, just something random. And then I'm going to change the font of it. I'll do Arial Black. And then I'll go here to Object Properties and change the rotation of the X to be 90, so it rotates 90 degrees across the red axis, which is the X axis. Then I will do Shift A to fill in the curves, because these are curves, like each letter is a curve, until I use a fill curve node, and then the output is a mesh. And so now it's a mesh because it added a face to the curves. If I go to wireframe mode, I see that the edges and vertices are messy. So in order to change that or to fix that up, I just change the fill type to the n-gons, and then it's a little bit nicer. All right, and then I do, to add some extrusion, right, to the mesh, I'm going to do Shift A and do Extrude Mesh and put that right in the middle. And that extrudes or gives the letters each letter a thickness, and so I'll change that to 0.1. If I want to control that value, I just connect it to here the geometry input, and then I'll be able to control it here in the modifier properties. All right. And then in order to have it filled in the back as well, I have to do a Shift A and then join geometry to join both the fill and the extrusion, and put that right there in the middle and connect the fill curve, and now that's good. All right, and then onto the translation of everything, like the movement of the letters. I'll have to do translate instances. That goes in here, and then I'm gonna go to layout, Shift A, add an empty so I can control each of the letters, and then I'm gonna go back to the text and then just grab the empty from the outliner, and then just drag it over here into geometry nodes. And then I'm gonna get the position of each of the letters, and I'm going to calculate the distance between the position of each of the letters and the location of the empty, which I just added. So it's going to be one vector that I'm calculating, and this second vector. Now that distance is going to be the amount, right, in meters, I believe, that each letter is going to move. So that happens. And then I'll do Shift A, and I'll search for combine XYZ. And that's going to allow it to move on the y-axis, which in this case is just up and down. So if I grab the empty and do G to grab and then X to grab on the x-axis, you'll see that it's moving up and down. All right. To control a little bit of that, I'm going to add a color ramp. Put that in there. And then I'm going to click on Flip Color Ramp so that when I am closer to a letter, it goes up, and the farther I am from a letter like F, it's lower. Because without this, if it's flipped as it was originally, the closer I am to the letter, it's lower, and the farther I am from the letter, it's higher, and that's the opposite. I don't want that. I want the opposite. And so I just go Color Ramp and then click on Flip Color Ramp. All right. And then if I do G and then X to and I go at a constant speed, I notice that the letters are all moving at the same speed, like up and down. But what I want the letters to go fast and then slow down, right? Logically slow down at the top where the velocity is 0, right? And then go, that's not a 0, where the velocity is 0, and then go and accelerate downward, right? Fast. So in order to kind of have that effect, I'll do Shift A and do Float Curve, put that right there, and then I'll just kind of emulate the curve that I just made, kind of like that, and so that's how it's going to be now. Let me just delete this. So now if I move the empty, press G and X, and I go at a constant speed, I notice that the closer I am to the letter, the higher it goes, and then it slows at the top, and then it goes down fast as I'm moving at a constant speed. All right. Now to give it some material, I'll go here to shading at the top over here, and I'll search up for object info, and I'll also add a color ramp node, put that in there. I will connect the color to the color in the base material, and then I'll make sure that the colors are random, but I actually have to put the colors in there. And so I already have a color palette that I chose. So I'll get maybe like a pink, and I'll select its first tag and then go here and go to hex and then just paste that color in there. And then I'll go and maybe select the blue, select this one, paste the color right there. And I can't see it because I haven't set the material. So if I go back to geometry nodes, I have to do Shift A and set material and put that right there. And then I have to select that material that I created over here. And I'll be able to see it if I move to material view over here at the top right. Right, if I go back to shading, I'll see that. And now I don't want it to be a gradient. I want it to be exactly the colors that I wanted, that I put there. So I'm going to change this to constant. All right, and then I'm just going to make sure that there is some, randomness here. All right. Oops. All right. And then I think we'll leave it like that, or maybe should I add another color? Maybe yellow? Oops, why did that, I clicked on it. Click on this and just put that color right there and give it some space, maybe another color. Change this to purple. Anyway. Maybe I don't want the purple. I'll leave it like this. Anyway, now I'm going to go to layout, right? And I'm going to do Shift A, plane, S to scale, and then G to grab, X to grab on the X axis. Then edit mode, tab to go on edit mode, edge select by selecting this button over here, selecting this edge, E to extrude, and then Z to extrude upward, and then I'll press the whole thing and do S and then X to scale on the X axis, and then I'll go to modifier properties, add a modifier, add a bevel one, increase the amount and segments, and that's just kind of gonna make a backdrop. Right click, shade smooth, and then I'll pull up my timeline for the actual animation part, and I'm only gonna do 80 frames. So my video is gonna end like at 80 seconds, I guess, or 80 frames. So the first one, I'm gonna grab the empty and just put it right before it starts affecting the letter A. So by grabbing the empty, I'm doing G and then X to move along to grab along the X axis, which again is the red axis. So it's about here. And so I'm just gonna do N, and that should pop up this menu over here in the transform. And that location that it is in the X axis is the location that I want it to be, that empty to be at on frame 1. And so I'm gonna hover over this location. I'm gonna press I as I hover over, and that should insert that keyframe, that location, as a keyframe right there. And then I'm gonna go to keyframe 80, and I'm gonna move the empty GX right after it stops affecting the letter F, so right about here. And I'm gonna hover over that position, and I'm gonna press I as I hover over it, and that should insert that keyframe there. So now if I go to 1 and I play it, the animation should go as planned. Alright. And if I go now to render tree view, I will see that there. I'm going to press N, put this down. I'm going to select this light, and I'm going to go to object data properties, which is the light bulb here, change it to a sun, change the strength to 3, and then I'm going to do G and then Y to grab along the y-axis, and then R to rotate so that it kind of just lights everything up. And then I'm going to deselect shadows so that there's no shadows. And then I'm going to go to front view by pressing the button under the escape key and hovering over front. And I'm going to do Control Alt Numpad 0 to kind of set up my camera view. If you don't have a numpad, you go to Edit, Preferences, And then you go to inputs, and then you check on emulate numpad, and that should emulate numpad for you. To get out of this camera view, you click on the middle mouse button, and to go back, you click on 0. Okay, so I just want to go a little bit more to the left, so do Control Alt Numpad 0 once more, and then play it and see if that kind of gets everything. Alright, that's good. And then at this point, I'm going to go to Output Properties, which is over here, and I'll just select the folder where I want my images to render. So today's date is 7/10/22, and it's as if. Alright, accept, and then I want to render them all as PNG images, and that's pretty much it. So I'm going to do Control S and save this before I render, so 7/10/22. And I'm just going to render animation. And then if I go to, oh, I forgot one thing. Let me close this out. Let me go to the timeline and hover over and press T and change the interpolation to be linear so that it kind of loops, right? And then let me go to my folder and delete any frames that are already rendering because it's fast. Alright, so let me start again. Render animation. And now, again, if I go to the folder that I was just on, I'll be able to see the frames being rendered, right? And they should be 80 frames, and so that should, they should all render in this folder. And then I'll unpause when I actually, I'm not going to unpause because last time I said that it was literally ready after I paused the video. Okay, so 2 more. There we go. Okay, so now all the frames are rendered here. I'm going to click on X, exit out of here. Now I'm going to go to the plus sign at the top over here, video editing. Scroll this all the way up, go to add, image sequence, go to the folder where I have all of my animations for this day, select the first one, scroll all the way down, shift select the last one, that selects everything in between, add image strip. And now I go to output properties, again, over here, and I'm just going to select the folder that the video is going to be outputted in. It's going to be in the same folder as the images, but in an actual folder. The file format is going to be FFmpeg video. Encoding is going to be MPEG4. Quality is going to be high quality. And that's it. So I'm going to do Control S to save, go and scroll all the way back up, render animation, and then in a few seconds, the video should be in that folder right here. And this is the final result. Now, there is one thing though. To kind of change the bounciness of the render, where is it? Actually, I'm not going to do that because I don't want it to be bouncier, but I'll just show you. I click on the letters to kind of change how high it goes. I could do a multiply, math node, put that right in there, and I can just multiply and then set this to 2, and then if I run it, it's gonna go higher. So that kind of does things like that. But I'm not really gonna do that, so I'm just gonna press X, change this back to Y. Alright, and that's it for today. Let me just look at the result one last time. Alright, bye.